Welcome back to Living a Good Life. I'm Brad Fain, and today I'm really pleased to be with Doug Berry, who is the new Provost of Yavapai Community College here in Yavapai County. And Doug's going to take us on a little bit of a tour of the facilities here out in Prescott Valley and tell us a little bit about his job, his role, and what he's doing, and also Yavapai College is doing that really makes a quality of life and living a good life here in Central Arizona so much better for all of us. So Doug, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Brad. Thanks for being here. I'm very new to Yavapai College, started in December, and there's so many great things happening. It was a wonderful opportunity to apply, and I've just been thrilled since day one to be working with President Ryan and the team. Their commitment to education, their involvement in the community, it was everything I saw when I was looking at the college to apply for the position. And these first 3 or 4 months have been great in seeing that actualized. So,
well, why don't you told me while we were walking a little bit, why don't you let everybody know kind of like what your background is a little bit and how you got here? Because, I mean, you're an amazing talent and we're attracting great, bright people to come here. And I think it'd be great for them just to hear a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I spent 18 years in the Maricopa Community College system. I started as a psychology faculty member, and I taught for about 10 years, serving as a division chair. I was the honors program director, worked on a lot of different committees, and then moved into the academic dean position and served as a dean for several years, overseeing programs, accreditation, working with faculty and staff. Moved into the vice president position at Phoenix College. So over at Phoenix College, I oversaw all their academic programs, instructional support. We were working very closely with the city of Phoenix. You know, it's nestled right there downtown. And so we did a lot of great partnership work. And I was in a similar role at Paradise Valley. Those are both Maricopa colleges for a couple of years there too. And so then, like I said, with the opportunity to come up here to Yavapai and work with President Ryan when that opportunity opened, she has a great reputation. The college has a great reputation, and was just thrilled to be accepted in the position. And so now serving as provost, typically the first question I get is, what's a provost? And it really depends on the institution. Provost can oversee a number of different things, but typically you're the chief academic officer responsible for academic programming, accreditation, instructional support, and that is what I do at Yavapai. My partner in crime is our Vice President of Workforce and Allied Health. That's Dr. Mary Lou Mercado. And so she also helps me in the academic affairs space. She oversees all the CTE programs, allied health programs. We work together very closely in providing direction for the college in the academic space.
So tell me a little bit about how you said academic curriculum. So how does a community college come up with, not a community college, how does Yavapai Community College come up with a new academic programming, and how do you engage with the community to create that design so that you're delivering value to ultimately your student, but also the community at large?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one of our goals. We want to make sure that we are providing academic curriculum and programs that lead to a livable wage. We want to make sure that we're supporting the community. So if we have an idea, either we hear from the state or the county that, we are in need of this workforce, we will then go through our curriculum process and do a feasibility study where we collect workforce data. We want to make sure that these are livable wage jobs. We want to make sure if we're training students, there is a place for them in the workforce. And we want to make sure that we tailor our curriculum to whatever that industry partner needs. And so we will have a faculty expert, and they will help guide that process. They usually work with an advisory board, which are members of the community. It could be industry partners, local partners, certainly our own workforce within the college to make sure the curriculum is meeting those outcomes. We put it through our process. It gets vetted by a committee. It gets vetted through our college council and eventually our governing board. And when they approve that curriculum, we're ready to provide that service to the community. So it's really a very inclusive process. We don't just stand up programs because we think it's a good idea. We definitely get community input and involvement in that process.
Great. So one of the biggest challenges that our community and our region has had is that living wage job and that living wage career. And tell me some of the things that Yavapai College is doing differently, bringing some of the higher paying jobs, maybe technology based, but still not requiring a 4-year degree. Some of those things that, like, I would think I'd have to go get a 4-year degree to be able to do that. And you guys are kind of breaking the mold a little bit on that and trying to get people from wanting to enter it to a job in less time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have our 2-year degrees and our certificates, and we have a couple bachelor's degrees. But what we try to do is within each of those degrees is stack certificates. And so a student may only need 1 or 2 classes to earn a micro credential. Mm-hmm. And then they are ready to jump in the workforce and go to work with their employer. And oftentimes, even in cybersecurity, for example, I was meeting with our faculty member yesterday. They will have students that leave mid-semester because they have taken enough of the course and they understand cybersecurity well enough with our hands-on work that they get picked up by an employer. Now, we obviously want that student to finish the curriculum and finish out that certificate in class. And so we typically try to work that out with the employer. Some of these employers are fantastic, providing flexible schedules for their employees so they can still finish school or finish whatever certificate they're in and maintain their job in the workforce. So we're really big on providing those skills that are needed. A lot of our industry partners say they will train them around the culture of the job. We'll take care of that. You just provide this technical training and get them ready for us, and that's what we try to do.
Very nice. So maybe we should back up a little bit. Kind of go through, what does Yavapai Community College offer, just from a degree? You said you have a 2-year degree. I know you have a big trades program, so there's a lot of certificates there. I heard a 3-4 year degree. So kind of go through the list of the degrees or the different types of education you offer.
Yeah, we have a very broad educational portfolio. We offer micro credentials, which would be less than 15 or 16 credits. We offer certificates, and then we offer 2-year degrees, Associate of Fine Arts, Associate in Science, and then we offer our bachelor's degrees. Currently, we have our BSN, which is our newest bachelor's degree. We also have a BS in Business with 4 different concentrations. And so students are able to come to us, transferring credits that they may have taken at other colleges and universities and jump right into our programs. We're gearing up for our next bachelor's degree, which will likely be in computer science. We are working through that process. So we'll be excited to offer that towards fall of 25. And so we really have programs for any student in any part of their career, whether they are just starting out of high school. We have a lot of dual and concurrent enrollment. And so we can get students through their associate's degree before they graduate with their high school diploma, if that's something they're interested in.
Wow.
And then we have the opportunity for students to come in right out of high school, or our largest demographic is actually that returning adult student. So our average age student is not 18 or 19 years old. It's closer to 30 years old.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of students who have some college and no degree. They come back to us, take the courses they need to be more hireable or upskilled for their particular employer, and they go right back into the workforce. And so we really do want to be that institution that students in the community see as a place where they can come and go all throughout their lifetime, and not just right after high school or right into college. They're going to come back for lifelong learning.
Speak a little bit to the vital role that any higher education institution offers a community as far as, one, elevating the workforce through certificates and programming that you guys offer, but just how that builds into the quality of life of a community as with a higher learning institution involved and engaged in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, learning is our core value. It's what we want to do. We feel like a talented workforce is something that we can help provide the community. And as we talked earlier, if an employer is looking at Prescott Valley as a place to land their business, we want them to have full confidence that their employees will be trained at a high level through our institution. And so I definitely think we're contributing to that good life, that good lifestyle in the community by providing that service. And so many of our faculty, our administrators, we try to serve on advisory boards. We try to be visible out in the community. So if you have questions, you have concerns, we can answer them and try to address them right away. And then your employees can feel comfortable and confident coming back to Yavapai as many times as they need to get the training that's necessary.
So you're like a real partner to the workforce and the employers in the region, in that as their industry changes, because all these industries change over time, new technology in medicine, new technology in manufacturing. So you're there as kind of a business partner for that employer to keep the workforce educated or competent in what they're doing, which helps keep that employer here in our community and keeping the people working.
Right. And, I'd say it's probably okay to accuse higher education of not being super flexible at times. Yeah. But I do think that Yavapai is trying to break that mold and provide workforce training outside of our basic 4-credit curriculum. We have non-credit curriculum too that we're much more flexible with. We have the REDC and the Small Business Center, but we were trying to help employers find any needs they may need. We were going to help them with that demand. And so we are trying to break the mold a little bit from traditional higher education and be more flexible so that we can give the community what they need.
Great. And I think you're also trying, from what I see from an outsider just looking in, challenge the community in a sense. I know Yavapai College has a big wine presence and in that whole industry in the Verde Valley, and who would have thought Arizona wine? I mean, but it's here, and we have people making investments in the wine production and manufacturing here in Arizona. And then I know out in Chino Valley, you guys have this 3D printing. You're experimenting. I don't think anybody's quite mastered it yet, but we're working. So I see you also as challenging the community and the people to think maybe bigger than they currently are. Can you shed any light into that aspect of the college's role in that in the community?
Yeah, we it's one of the things that attracted me to Yavapai is that we are trying to be innovative and out in front. And you mentioned the 3D printing. It's pretty wild to see that in action. And I know they're trying to expand that across the country in various ways as technology improves. Mm-hmm. We're really trying to make sure that we are understanding and using AI as much as we possibly can now. I know others are a little resistant and hesitant with AI in higher education. And what's that mean? We have an entire group of people looking at artificial intelligence, XR, VR, so that we can use that in the classroom. We actually go out to middle schools and high schools and have them put on goggles and experience some of our workforce programs from right there in their own seat. And so we're trying to do that training and be out in front so that we are not lagging behind other institutions, and that we can do that in our community. So students can come here and sit in our classroom and take a tour of some country in France in our art classes,
Wow.
Cool stuff like that. And as that expands and grows, as the technology expands and grows, we want Yavapai to be right at the front and not asking, can we join in later?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that about the president, her vision for that. And then of course our staff that's working so hard to be at the front end of that.
So where's a place we would see AI that would surprise us, that's like really going right now, and I might not recognize that it's AI driven?
Right. So it's all over higher education, and people are thinking about the classroom use, but we're also thinking.
Is it going to replace the professors?
That's what
why
people
not?
ask, And
who's at risk here?
The last conference we were at about AI, they said, you may not be replaced by AI, but you will likely be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI if you do not. And so we want to make sure that we're training our students, our faculty and staff to use this technology, not necessarily to replace people, but to make them more efficient in the workplace. I mean, you've seen in drive-thrus where now they are not staffing individuals. You're talking to AI and they are taking your order, and they're doing it with extreme accuracy. And so how are we going to use that in the workplace and higher education? And then we need our students to go out. They're not doing as much manual work in advanced manufacturing, for example. Mm-hmm. They need to know how to manipulate the robots and the AI in those manufacturing plants. And so we're preparing our students in that way.
We totally get that. I mean, we're a community builder. We don't do anything with a lot of technology, but we are looking at AI and how it can make our jobs more efficient, our jobs more effective. It's a thinking tool. It's amazing how you can use some of the tools with AI just to help you get over that writer's block, or that, like, I'm stuck on this thought, I can't expand it. And then you jump on that, and all of a sudden all these new thoughts come in and opportunities, like, oh, I wasn't thinking that way. So I agree with you. I don't see it as a threat of just replacing all humans, but I do agree that if humans don't know how to use it or engage with it, you might be at risk.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you use Chat GPT and you just enter a prompt like you would a Google search, you're only going to get so much information back. But if you actually talk to the AI and establish a relationship with what you want to understand, it will provide you vastly different answers. And so we want our students to be able to do that. We want them to be experts in that space. So as they go in the workforce, they're bringing that talent with them too.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So I'm familiar with Yavapai College and how they partner with different organizations and try to do training in nursing. We have a huge need here. We have a slightly older population than the state average. It needs a lot of healthcare, a lot of nursing. And I think Yavapai College has done a really good job on that field with getting those students, and the arm that I've worked with is through the Jewish Community Foundation, and our company is a sponsor in there, and then they provide scholarships. And one of the things I really like about that program is it's a social contract. but it's like, hey, if we sponsor you and you become a nurse, we would like you to stay in our community and work. What other examples are there where Yavapai College is kind of embracing that? Like, we want to train you, and we want to train you so you give back to our community, and that we don't export, because we are a great region for exporting our youth and our talent. We got great learning institutions, and they get these kids all sharp and ready to go, and then they have to go to Phoenix or another state to get a job, and we're just exporting that talent.
Yeah, and I was just actually talking to our AVP, John Morgan, a couple of weeks ago about that. He does a lot of training in our agriculture space, our advanced manufacturing space, and we talked about how can we keep those students here when they graduate, because there are other opportunities out. And, you see it in the state of Arizona with the teacher scholarship. And, you can go to school and get your degree paid for, but you have to stay here and teach for at least 3 years. So those programs exist. And I would encourage us to look at that as a community. What could we be doing as an employer? Tuition reimbursement, tuition assistance, and you stay here and provide this service to our county or our city for a number of years to get that tuition assistance. I think that's a perfectly good ask for students. I think students would love something like that.
They're already here.
Yes.
And to your point, your average student is maybe in their 30s. It's a second career or partway through their first career, and they need to be maybe brought up to the technology, but they're already here. So they want to be here. How can we keep them and keep them in that living wage category?
Yeah, and housing has come up a number of times, affordable housing, and we've tried to work on that solution to the problem by offering that for our employees and our students. And I was in a meeting with the high school superintendents, and they're working on a grant to support teacher housing for incoming teachers, and Chino Valley is seeing some real benefit with that. So anything we can do to provide those extra amenities seems to be very helpful to keep people here.
Well, we're actually working with Yavapai College on housing, and you guys are a great partner, because it's not just can we get it done, can we get approvals, it's, well, what about this product? I mean, we get emails often and phone calls often just saying, we just discovered this new technology. Would this work? Could we drive cost of housing down with this? So it's working both ends of it. How can we get it approved, get it designed, get it built for less? And then if we still need support, how can we get the support in there to help get people here so they stay and they can get established roots here in the community? So you've been here 4 months. So you've just kind of probably been like everything just pouring in, trying to get your bearings straight. So what do you see as the biggest challenge as the provost for the college in your first 4 months?
Biggest challenge? It's a really good question. These first 4 months, I've been meeting with a lot of people. I've been to all of our campus locations. I've tried to connect with our high school partners, some industry partners. I talk with our employees, faculty and staff. I just met with student groups this week to kind of understand what their needs are. And it's great because this is a position I've gotten into that I don't have to put out a bunch of fires. And it's not always like that when you step into a new role. So I really had the opportunity to learn and listen. And I think going forward, it's some of the things we've talked about. We want to be a great employer at YC too, not just producing great students. And so we are trying to do things around our compensation studies and providing housing opportunities. I think attracting talent with remote work. So we want to make sure we're flexible with our policies so that we can attract talent to us. And we know some of these folks have younger families, and so they don't want to sit behind a desk for 8 hours a day. They want to be able to work flexibly. So we're trying to do those things. That's one of the challenges, I think, from an employer standpoint, just that we're staying nimble as we can be in higher education and competing with the outside workforce. We have some incredible faculty, and if they wanted to go into the private sector, they could probably earn maybe a slightly better wage. They just have a passion for teaching and for helping students, which is what we love about them. And so they're contributing to the college in some fantastic ways. So I think if we can keep that going, that'll be one obstacle. There's always changes. We're dealing with budget right now. The state budget impacts our budget, the kind of monies they provide us, whether that's in the form of grants or other funding, impacts what we can do and what we can provide the community. I know we'd love to build a beautiful facility here to expand allied health programs, and we are ready to work on the curriculum and have our faculty get that ready for the community, but we need help with some of the funding in that aspect before we can start doing that building and pumping out some of the very much needed workforce in physical therapy, more nursing, dental hygiene, massage therapy. We know these are needs of the community. We want to be able to assist. And so if we can solve that problem around budget, that would be a huge obstacle to overcome and be a great benefit for the community at large, I think.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned flexible work schedules and flexible work environments, remote, hybrid, being in the office part of the time. Is there a role for higher education to play in that arena, whether it's training and educating the future employee and working with your business partners and training and educating your business partners? Like, here's your workforce, it's coming, it's going to be highly skilled, they're going to be qualified to do the work, and they're not going to be in your traditional work setting. Because we're at this stage where you've got people that have grown up under the traditional 40-hour work week. This is what we do. And you've got this younger workforce. And so we've got them all mixed together right now. And we're in this transition period. What's the role for higher education to play in making that transition smoother for everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really tricky when the pandemic hit and we all had to go remote.
Forced right into it overnight.
Because you would have heard for years at probably any college or university, we can't do online learning for everything.
We'll have to do 10 studies.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Yep.
Several $1 million, and we'll let you know if we can do it.
And in 2 weeks, we did it.
Exactly.
And so now we're really trying to improve that process. I think one of the misconceptions is that young people come up with technology so they know how to use it all. And they might know how to use social media and some of those platforms, but they may not know how to use it in a business setting. So I think that's a huge part of our gen ed faculty, teaching them. I think of our public communication classes. They used to just do speeches in class, but now they do speeches on Zoom. And so being able to talk about what's in your background when you're in a business meeting, how do you dress? What is your facial expression in a Zoom meeting compared to a public setting? And so we're teaching those types of skills, writing skills. It's beyond just papers. How do you communicate effectively in writing through emails, short messages? And so, our faculty, while we don't go in and change curriculum to say this is because of remote work, we are training students. We're providing them that education that hopefully, whether they're working in an office or they're doing some remote work via Zoom, they're giving a public presentation on a stage, or they're doing it to a group of 400 in a Zoom room, they have those same skill sets and they're building and developing those. So I think we do play a role in that. Mm-hmm. Again, higher ed's slow to adapt, slow to be flexible at some points, but we're trying to do that for our own workforce as well and make sure they have that same experience and opportunity.
Do you see, I heard a lot of concerns when COVID hit, and there was a whole block of students across the country, across the world that just kind of got either they didn't get to finish in traditional school setting, or they had to go through their whole school setting in a format they didn't sign up for, and they didn't get that college experience, that campus experience. How are you guys working to address that? Where I love to hear that here's how you speak on Zoom and here's how you speak in person. Right. I love that. And here's how you write a formal letter and here's how you write a text or an email. How are you trying to enhance that college experience for those younger students, maybe more so than your older students, with the technology?
Yeah. And, we saw a lot of the on-campus events kind of go away, and we're trying to bring those back because sense of belonging is one of our key focuses too. And so we want to make sure when students come to Yavapai, they get not only the classroom experience, but the co-curricular, extracurricular. We talked about athletics a little earlier. Mm-hmm. And so our student life area does a great job with that. I met with students yesterday and they said they have more than enough opportunity on campus, which is great. And what we also do, because of multiple locations, we'll host club meetings. We'll do that in a virtual setting. And so students, no matter what their location, or maybe they're a fully online student, we want to make sure they have the opportunity to engage in that outside of the classroom experience. We're recently looking at our honors program and kind of reimagining what honors might be at YC. And we want to make sure that they have an experience as a student who's all online, who has a hybrid schedule, student who's working part-time or full-time, who's able to enjoy that type of experience. So I think the pandemic allowed us to really be hyper-focused on online for a few years. And rather than just tossing all that out and go right back to in-person, we're taking those best practices and trying to expand and grow them. So now we're trying to be the best of both worlds, in person and online. And it's a lot for our staff and faculty, but they do some amazing things.
Did I hear right in there that you're kind of turning part of that experience over to the students and letting them who need the experience kind of be a part of designing, and what does that look like and how does it feel?
Yeah, that was amazing feature joining YC. You know, you go on a committee or a council and there's a student member. So the student voice is thread throughout the institution. And, you know, reimagining honors, we have a number of students who are supporting that group. And, you know, what's your opinion? How can we best serve students who are working, who are non-traditional, who may be coming over from the high school? So we really, you know, we have such a diverse student body. If we tried to plan these things without getting the student voice, we would surely miss the mark. And so the focus on students is at the top at YC, which is fantastic, because we can argue and disagree about things, but if we're always focused on the student experience, that brings us back together.
So one of the central themes of this show, this podcast, is, you know, we all have a different lens on what living a good life is. We all have our own goals to make that happen. What do you see as some of the big opportunities? I know you've only been here 4 months, for Yavapai College, for our communities, that will contribute towards living a good life.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I look, you know, from a psychology lens and, you know, Maslow's hierarchy, people have to feel comfortable with their basic needs before they can really move beyond anything else. And so I loved what I heard President Ryan say. We're looking at Maslow's before Bloom's. So Bloom's taxonomy is a way of learning and scaffolding learning. But if the students don't have a safe place to live, if they can't count on food more days than not, they're not going to be interested in learning. And we know that so many of our community have those basic needs. Another reason I was drawn to YC is that they're focused not just on the academic experience of the student, but also the student as a person. And so I see YC contributing through those basic needs. We have food pantries, we have scholarships for housing. We're working on more affordable housing for our students. If we can help students in poverty, while they're in poverty, get an education, then they can get out of poverty. And that's really one of the missions, right? We are poverty warriors at the community college, which is what I love about it. And so we are trying to get as many people up to that next socioeconomic level, living a good life, where, you know, maybe they don't have boats out on the lake, but they're not worried about a roof over their head. They're comfortable with their kids in the community they live. They have food, they have those basic needs established. And then they can ensure that their kids are able to go on and get an education. And so, you know, breaking that cycle of poverty, I think that's what YC can do. And I love the focus, how we're not just, you know, school. We ask students questions if they have food to eat. Do they have a place to stay? Do they need support? So we're offering those services, and I think we'll continue to do that, making it a great place to go to school and a great place to live.
Well, and that's all part of making it a great life. And what I heard in there is a hand up, not a handout. Right. Give them the tools so they can be successful where they want to take their life, and then it's up to them. Right. I mean, at some point you got to turn them loose and say, okay, we've done our part and we're here to help you keep advancing, but you got your role to play in this whole as well.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, Doug, it's been a pleasure to get to meet you. Welcome to Yavapai College in Central Arizona. Glad to have you up here. Excited to continue working with you. Anything that we haven't touched on that you want to touch on about this great institution and its involvement in the community?
You know, I think our recent statistics, we're #1 in the state in so many categories. And I think you're just going to continue to see that kind of work come out of Yavapai College. And so the partnerships that we have, we're going to continue to grow those. The way we support students, we're going to continue to expand that. And we want as much community involvement as the community would like to get. And we certainly want to be involved in the community at every level we can be. So I'm looking forward to my continued work at YC and in Prescott Valley and the Prescott area. So it's been a pleasure meeting you as well.
Well, thank you, Doug. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Living a Good Life. And we'll see you next time.